Guns Save Lives sticker going to be an issue?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think most of our community is pretty pro Second Amendment.
Yeah.
I think.
So I get some clout then.
Yeah, that's what you're doing it for. I know it is.
What's that smell?
It's like
Shut
Dominic
up.
the Donkey
Shut up.
Tromboloni.
That's why they call me the donkey.
All right, episode 10 of the Small Group Podcast.
10, double digits, baby.
That's right, we made it.
We're there.
We're big kids now.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're talking about some questions that have to do with the sermon that Sam preached for us on Sunday. I want to tell you that I think you did a fantastic job. I think you listened to the Lord, and it sounded like that the people of God got a good word on Sunday.
Thank you.
Yeah, Pastor, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Sam's performance? I'm just playing. You don't have to do that. Just playing. All right, let's get into it.
He was
right
about
now.
to answer, too.
I was.
Well, before we do that, Sam, can you remind the people of God exactly what it was that we talked about on Sunday?
Yeah,
and what they need to remember.
Yeah, we talked about Stephen when he was being stoned and how he forgave the people during that process. We use that as an example of how we should forgive in different situations, using him because ultimately he was mimicking Christ through that. So it was situations that we might come up with in our own lives and how we need to forgive people, not just for them, but for us and for our relationship to God.
Thank you. Well, the first thing we're going to ask here is, and we'll give this one to Pastor Brad. How have you approached the below questions and challenges in the past, and how will you approach them in the future? All right, that's a little bit involved right there.
It is,
Let's get to the bullet points.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. How have you approached forgiving when people move from being upset to uncontrollable anger? So I think what they're trying to ask right here is, when somebody loses their cool with you,
Mm-hmm.
how are you able to move from a place of defensiveness to a place of forgiveness?
Well, I tell you, it's hard because I guess number one is I realize that people are very passionate about things that they believe in.
Like wearing a mask or not wearing a mask?
Yeah, or any of the other thing that can become very controversial very quickly, and so first thing I do is evaluate: did I do something to lead them to that, or is that somewhere that they just went off on their own tangent with that? And realize most of the time when people get really upset about something, it's not necessarily that they're upset specifically at the person that is taking the brunt of it, as much as they're upset about a situation or about a feeling or something that they're going through, and just not letting that be a reflection on my character or what I'm doing, and just kind of knowing that we all get to a point where we lose it every once in a while, and sometimes we just so happen to be at that place where we're going to take the brunt of it with somebody at some point, and just making the conscious decision, I'm not going to hold this against this person forever, and moving on.
All right. Sam, how do you approach forgiving when you're attacked even though you've done nothing wrong?
When I think back to a specific example from when I was growing up, it took me a long time to forgive, and it took me a long time because I didn't know why it happened or why these people were attacking me. But ultimately, the thing that made me forgive was I realized it was for the purpose of God. The specific thing happened because I was going down a direction that I wasn't supposed to go down, and God had other plans for me. So ultimately, I forgave them because they, number one, didn't, kind of like he was saying, didn't really know that what they were doing was going to hurt me the way it did. And number two, it was because I knew that ultimately it was better for me in the long run. So it took a long time, but once I had that understanding of God's purpose and everything, I forgave.
Brad, how do you approach forgiving even though we know the people we're dealing with have closed their hearts and minds to the truth? How do you forgive somebody when they don't care if you forgive them?
Well, first of all, I have more, I guess pity seems kind of trite to say, but I have more pity on people when they've closed their minds off to the truth. And maybe the correct word for me to say is I should have more compassion on them, because I know, like I see people all the time that have known the right thing to do and just decided that they're just not going to do it, and whether it's a matter of we've crossed paths on that subject, or I confront somebody on something that I feel like that they're doing something that they should know is not something they should be doing. You get a lot of people that they obviously don't react to that well, and but ultimately I have to get to this point, and I might be getting a little bit ahead of us here, but when you read about what Jesus says about forgiveness, and looking at what Jesus did, and looking at what Stephen did even in this situation, forgiveness really has nothing to do with appeasing somebody or making them feel better. Forgiveness is about the condition of your own heart and what you're willing to let go of and turn back over to God. It's like it said, it's not mine to avenge and mine to repay, but that's God's. And so when I'm willing to forgive, I'm willing to just say, you know what, I'm not going to allow this situation to have control over me anymore. And it's not that I'm telling you what you did was okay, or that what you think is okay, or me trying to exert my superiority over you, or thinking that I'm better than you, but I'm just not going to let this drag me down and drag me under. I'm not going to let this destroy me. So I've got to give this to God. Now, whatever you do with that, hopefully that can build a bridge between me and you. But if it doesn't, that's on you. It's not going to be on me, because I've let it go. And
great minds say forgiveness isn't about you and the other person. It's about you and God.
Yeah.
I believe that was young Samuel Lyons, I think, was the one that said that.
Right.
And the Lord spoke to me with that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not ready to forgive nobody. But I'm just playing.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is tough for me, man.
Yeah.
I remember. I remember. But I want everybody to forget about the bad stuff I've done.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. You hear people say forgive and forget, and they're not synonymous with one another. Like, I remember things that people have done to me, and I remember things that have happened to me, and I remember things that I've done to people that they needed to forgive me of. But the key is that I don't hold that over them anymore. That I've let go of whatever it is that brought it there, and when Satan tries to attack me and tries to bring that stuff back up in my heart and my mind, I have to combat that. That's a daily spiritual warfare kind of thing. So it's not just forgive and forget, because things that happen to us don't go away. I think sometimes we kind of diminish things by saying that, but it's the fact that I'm not holding this offense against you any longer, and and hopefully when that happens, that hopefully what I wish to see in somebody else's life is any offense that they've made, that if I can forgive them, hopefully they understand that that was much harder than God forgiving them, and hopefully they've sought that in their own life, that they've sought forgiveness from God, because God gives it freely. A lot of times with people it has conditions on it, and so I've got to learn to forgive unconditionally like Christ did. I mean, think about Stephen. He's in the he's like in the midst of his own murder.
Yeah.
He's being murdered, and as he's being murdered, he's saying, "Forgive him." And I love the parallels that Sam showed us between what Jesus said on the cross and what Stephen said as this was happening to him.
That was really nice.
And that was powerful stuff.
And I think that what you just said right there, Brad, about it being essentially a witness to our relationship with Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
is why forgiveness matters. That was question number 3 there, or excuse me, that was the next question. Why does forgiveness even matter? I think that's an excellent point there. Do you have anything to add to that?
To what he was
Yeah.
saying? No,
I think it's about pretty much a home run there.
Yeah.
Sam, how do you think forgiveness will change you?
I think it sets your mind at a different place. You know, the one thing that I was thinking about during all this was, it's a lot easier to forgive somebody after the thing is done. You know, years after whatever happens. But Stephen didn't. He was forgiving them while it was happening. So that, number one, it completely changed the game from what was going on to his relationship with God. So it set his mind from the things that were happening to him to his relationship with God, and ultimately, I don't know if he I know that in the history of martyrs and in a lot of their documentation of their life, they would take pride in being flogged. They would take pride in all that because they feel that they're connecting with Christ, because they're doing this for their religion. They're saying, I can be this much closer to Christ because I understand a little bit more of his experience. You know, so I don't know if he was thinking that way, but
I want to understand the gold, frankincense, and myrrh that was given to him by the Magi. That's the part I would like to identify with.
Right.
I don't want to identify with the suffering.
Yeah, so exactly. It changes the mindset from this is happening to me to this is my experience that I get to do for Christ. And it helps build that relationship with God, ultimately.
It's tremendous. Pastor, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Is there a correlation between the length of time it takes you to forgive someone and your spiritual maturity? Here's what I'm talking about. It takes me forever, right? Stephen, he was doing it while he was getting killed. Jesus, he did it when he told Judas to go ahead and go on and do the thing that he had to do. So he forgave Jesus before. I'm sorry, Jesus forgave Judas before he did it.
Yeah.
Stephen forgave the legalists while they were doing it, and it takes me 18 to 24 months to forgive somebody for looking at me the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, it can be an indicator of where you are. And different people have different temperaments. I don't think there's any kind of timetable to being more spiritual if you can do that. I think people, because if we want to compare ourselves to each other, like there have been things that have happened to me. Like, I mean, there have been people that I have been friends with or been in a relationship with that I knew long before they ever hurt me that they were probably going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but it didn't change the way. But then there have been other people that I never expected to hurt me that have hurt me, and it still stings. And maybe I haven't totally let go of that. So I don't know that it's definitely an indicator of spiritual maturity as it is a recognition. Sometimes we don't recognize what's going on. And that's why when I think about to the question of how will forgiveness change me, I see so many people that are holding on to bitterness, and I think being willing and being able to forgive takes the bitterness away. Like I know people who like coffee, and I know some people that I want my coffee black, because that's the way
Because
men.
I am a man.
That's the way
Yes.
men drink it. And then I know people that, there's more cream and sugar in it than coffee, and
Also can relate.
and the reason that people do it that way is because they're trying to take the bitterness away from the coffee flavor.
Okay.
They like the hint of the flavor, but they don't. And so, I just think that forgiveness is that thing that kind of reduces bitterness. When you see people that have, like, I see people sometimes, they're just like, everything always happens to me kind of people.
Yeah.
And they're just bitter to the world because of that.
Oh, Eeyore.
Yeah, right, yeah. Oh, woe is me.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember my dad used to love Hee Haw and the Lewd Despair and Agony on Me song.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure, people just walk around angry with an angry face. You angry at your breakfast. You angry, just angry.
And it's because they're carrying a burden that they don't have to carry. Because it's like we were talking about earlier. There's many times that I've forgiven people that they could have cared less whether I forgave them or not. But I can't carry that burden around anymore. I can't carry the burden of what they've done, or sometimes what I felt like I needed to forgive people for stuff that I really didn't need to forgive them for, because it was my perception of something. But the fact is that I'm carrying around something that I don't have to carry, and I just need to lay it down and give it over. That's the kind of stuff Jesus was talking about when my yoke is easy, my burden's light. Because he takes the weight of that off of us if we'll just turn it over to him. And forgiveness is like we talked about. So many people think it's such a difficult, hard thing to do, but man, it's freeing. It's freeing. I'm not constrained by this anymore. That's why sometimes I can see people that have done me extremely wrong and smile and speak to them and wish them well and not be a hypocrite for doing that, because I really do. Because I know that whatever's happened is gone. It's not there anymore, because if I give it to God, he takes it and it's over. And so I have to try to make it be over in my life. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. And like I said, Satan will use that as a tool against us. Hey, remember when?
Yeah.
And
it's almost like you gotta sort of stay on your guard with that stuff.
you do.
Yeah.
You have to be aware, because the devil's always scheming.
Always scheming.
He's prowling around like a lion waiting to devour our
Seeing that
souls,
which he may
and that's
devour.
an easy way to do it.
With me, it is.
Make you bitter, make you
Yeah.
angry, make you paranoid.
Yeah.
I see people
People
all
out
the
to get
time
me.
that are like, just like we talked about, Jesus forgave Judas before.
Yeah.
Some of us are convicting people before they ever even commit the offense.
Yeah.
Well, I know what kind of person you are. I know what you're gonna do. I know who.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
You don't
No,
know.
you don't. So just,
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, and this is maybe getting off subject a little bit, but I'll trust somebody. Like, I'll start in a place of trust, and I'll trust you till you give me a reason not to trust you. But then I have a responsibility as a Christian to let you rebuild that trust. And that's not, but man, I think about I have some friends that have done some awful things. and not necessarily to me. They've just done some awful things. But am I just going to walk away from somebody really when they probably need it the most? And man, that takes humility and realizing that the universe doesn't revolve around you, and just letting go of things. I can't carry the weight of all that. I can't. It hurts too much, and so just gotta let it go.
That's right. Sam, do we have anything that the people of God need to know about coming up this week?
Oh yeah, we do. We've got a Nerf war on Saturday. Bring all your kids here. We're gonna shoot them in the face with foam darts.
Bingo. Nerf war on Saturday.
Nerf war on Saturday.
Youth group on Wednesday.
Youth group Wednesday night.
7 p.m. free pizza.
Free pizza. We'll get a little Bible study going. Talk about what's going on in their lives and try to build up the community.
That's right. Please stay in prayer for Quinn Redwood.
Yes.
She's been diagnosed with an acute form of leukemia,
Mm-hmm.
and we're believing in Jesus' name for her healing. So stay in prayer for her. Stay in prayer for the members of our church and our community. There's a lot of people going through some things, a lot of unspokens. Also, Almighty God is doing some great works in our community, so stay in praise as well. Pastor, anything else?
Just remember Alex and Caitlin.
Yes, absolutely.
and their child and the surgery and the recovery and everything, and just pray for complete healing and restoration there as well.
Thank you. All right, episode 10.